When you are wronged, the wound is sharp not only because of the injury itself, but because of the question that follows it: will they escape justice? The mind obsesses over this. You replay the betrayal, the cruelty, the insult, and you wonder why the universe seems silent. In moments like these, it is tempting to believe that injustice reigns freely, that some people harm and prosper, while others suffer and remain unheard. Yet the Stoics, observing the order of life with steady eyes, remind us that nothing truly escapes consequence. What many call karma, they would call the law of cause and effect, the natural justice that springs from the very structure of existence. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who ruled armies and bore the weight of Rome, reminded himself that the wrongdoer does not primarily injure the victim, but himself. The wrongdoer does not harm me more than he harms himself. This is not wishful thinking. It is recognition of a deeper truth. Every unjust act corrupts the one who commits it. Betrayal stains the betrayer's character. Cruelty disfigures the cruel. The liar, even when undetected, becomes entangled in his own falsehoods. And this is the first sign that karma, or natural justice, is already at work. Corruption begins within. Outwardly, those who harm you may appear to thrive. They may smile, laugh, count money, enjoy admiration. But inwardly, their soul is gnawed at by decay. Seneca declared, "He who sins does not do evil to others so much as to himself, for he makes himself wicked." Here lies the foundation of Stoic karma. Vice is its own punishment. It is invisible to the crowd, perhaps invisible even to the wrongdoer at first, but it corrodes silently. Wickedness is not external misfortune, it is internal ruin. This perspective liberates you from the hunger for revenge. The old self wants to see blood, to see payback, to see suffering equal to the harm inflicted. But the Stoic within you learns to recognize that revenge is unnecessary, because justice is already written into the act. Epictetus taught that wrongdoers are like men who drink poison, believing it to be wine. At the table, they celebrate, raise their cups, toast to their cleverness. But the poison has already entered, and their joy is hollow. The Stoic needs no revenge, for the ruin has already begun. Why is this truth so difficult to accept? Because we crave visible justice. We want to see the cruel humiliated, the betrayer abandoned, the liar exposed. When these things do not appear quickly, we despair and imagine that the universe is blind. Marcus Aurelius countered this despair with patience. Does an emerald lose its beauty if it is not praised, or gold if it is not admired? In the same way, justice does not cease to exist if you cannot see it immediately. The law of cause and effect does not pause because your eyes are impatient. The first sign that karma is at work, then, is internal decay, something you may never fully witness in others, but which you can be certain exists. A dishonest man may walk proudly for a time, but his mind becomes restless. He lives in fear of discovery, building more lies to cover the first, tangled in a net of his own making. A cruel person may laugh at another's pain, but his heart becomes hard and bitter, incapable of love, incapable of peace. The punishment is not always public, but it is always real. To harm others is to first harm yourself. Seneca warned against mistaking delay for absence. Just because retribution is not immediate does not mean it is absent. Consider the seeds of weeds. They lie hidden under soil, invisible for a time, but when watered, they grow into thorns. Every unjust act is such a seed. To the impatient eye, the field looks clean. To the Stoic eye, the corruption is inevitable. This is why Seneca told Lucilius to imagine consequences even when unseen. No man sins for the benefit of another. He destroys himself in destroying another. Modern life hides this law well. Social media and spectacle can make the corrupt appear admirable. We see the betrayer with wealth, the liar with followers, the cruel with power. But remember, appearance is not reality. The Stoics train us to look deeper. Marcus reminded himself not to be deceived by outward show, for reputation and fortune are fleeting. Beneath the glitter often lies rot. Do not envy what looks prosperous if it is built on injustice, for you are envying poison. What is your role, then, when hurt? The Stoics would say, not to wait eagerly for karma's blow, nor to obsess over the downfall of your enemies. Your role is to guard your own soul. Marcus Aurelius counseled himself, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. To carry hatred is to let the poison of another's actions seep into you. To trust that nature governs consequence frees you to focus on your own virtue. Their corruption is certain, your integrity is optional. Choose integrity. Yet patience does not mean passivity. If injustice must be confronted for the sake of others, confront it with courage. But do not do it for revenge, do it for justice. Epictetus advised, when you are offended at a man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger. This reflection transforms resentment into discipline. It keeps your eyes on the one self you can truly govern your own. The first Stoic sign of karma, then, is this: those who harm you have already harmed themselves. Their soul is corroded, their peace destroyed, their freedom forfeited. You may not see it, you may never hear of it, but it is real. Wrongdoing is not a debt waiting for collection, it is a sentence carried out immediately in the heart of the wrongdoer. So when you wonder, will they pay for what they did? Remember, they already are. The liar is enslaved by lies. The cruel is imprisoned in bitterness. The betrayer cannot trust even himself. Their wealth, their laughter, their appearances, they are disguises. The Stoic sees through them. Justice has already begun. The second sign that karma is already dealing with those who hurt you is the erosion of inner peace. Outwardly, the wrongdoer may project confidence. He may laugh loudly, boast about his victories, or pretend to sleep soundly. But the Stoics remind us that no man can escape the court of his own conscience. The one who harms another becomes his own judge, his own accuser, and his own jailer. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Wicked thoughts do not merely visit, they stain. Once the stain sets in, tranquility becomes impossible. Consider the liar. At first, he believes he is clever. He has hidden his deceit, manipulated events, and escaped consequence. Yet inside, his mind begins to race. What if I am discovered? What if someone notices the inconsistency? What lie must I invent to cover the last? His nights are not restful, his mornings are not calm. Each glance from another feels like suspicion. Each silence feels like judgment. He laughs, but his laughter is hollow, built on fear. Karma is already at work, for peace has abandoned him. Seneca saw this clearly. He said that the greatest punishment of guilt is guilt itself. A guilty conscience never feels secure, even if the crime is hidden. This is because conscience is not an external judge, it is an internal wound. You can silence accusers, bribe courts, deceive friends, but you cannot escape yourself. The guilty man lives in the constant shadow of discovery. He becomes restless even in safety, anxious even in calm. His inner trial never ends, and the sentence is sleeplessness. Epictetus offered his students an image. When a man commits injustice, he chains himself. The chain is invisible but heavy. He drags it wherever he goes, unable to rest, unable to breathe freely. Others may not see the chain, but he feels it cutting into his skin. This is why some men grow harsher and louder after wrongdoing. They are trying to drown out the sound of their own shackles. Karma is not only future consequence, it is present unrest. The Stoics also pointed to the natural order of the mind. Reason is designed for harmony, for alignment with virtue. When you act against virtue, you fracture this harmony. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about the inner citadel. the mind's fortress that cannot be breached by others. But he warned that you can destroy it yourself if you betray reason. When you betray reason, you cannot find shelter in your own soul. You become exiled within, restless, never at home. Modern psychology echoes this Stoic wisdom. Studies show that lying and cruelty increase stress, blood pressure, anxiety. The body itself betrays the guilty. Karma is written not only in the soul, but in the flesh. The wrongdoer's face hardens, his health falters, his nerves twitch. Outward success may decorate him, but inside he carries storms. What the Stoics saw with wisdom, science now confirms: injustice robs peace long before it robs possessions. Why does this matter to you, the one who was harmed? Because it frees you from obsession with revenge. When you lie awake, imagining their comfort, remember, their comfort is an illusion. They may lie in fine beds, but their sleep is thin. They may feast, but their food turns bitter in the gut. They may smile, but the smile cracks in the silence of their thoughts. Seneca insisted, no one can have a peaceful life who thinks too much about lengthening it, or about what others think. Wrongdoers live precisely in this torment. They are enslaved to appearances, to fear, to guilt. The second sign of karma is therefore restlessness. The one who hurt you cannot escape himself. His conscience gnaws like an unrelenting insect. Even if years pass without exposure, the gnawing continues. He begins to look over his shoulder. He begins to suspect allies. He begins to distrust even those who love him. This erosion of trust is not punishment from outside. It is the internal collapse of peace. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Why such strictness? Because he knew that the cost of wrongdoing is inner torment. Better to lose wealth, status, or opportunity than to lose the ability to rest within your own mind. The guilty lose this ability. They trade serenity for gain, but the gain is hollow. Karma ensures that what they obtained unjustly cannot be enjoyed. So, when you wonder, are they sleeping well? Are they happy while I suffer? The Stoic answer is no. They are restless even when they smile. They are pursued even when unchaste. They are punished by their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own fear. This punishment is invisible to you, but it is inescapable to them. The third sign that karma is working against those who hurt you is the gradual isolation that follows them. Wrongdoing may seem profitable at first. It can bring wealth, advantage, even applause, but over time, it corrodes trust, and trust is the foundation of every relationship. Once trust collapses, isolation follows. Seneca noted, "He who does not prevent a crime when he can, encourages it." And the reverse is true. Those who commit crimes encourage suspicion. Slowly, they find themselves surrounded, not by friends, but by flatterers, opportunists, and enemies in disguise. At first, the unjust man may appear surrounded. He boasts of his circle, his allies, his admirers. But watch carefully. Those who stand close to him are bound not by loyalty, but by interest. They stay while they gain something, and when the tide turns, they vanish. Karma works silently through this process, stripping him of genuine companionship until he is left with only shadows. Epictetus reminded his students, when a man harms another, he harms himself. He destroys the fellowship of men. Fellowship, true friendship, sincere community is impossible for the unjust. Marcus Aurelius was surrounded by courtiers, generals, flatterers. He knew how fragile this network was. In his meditations, he wrote, "Soon you will have forgotten all things. Soon all things will have forgotten you." He knew that reputation is smoke, and loyalty built on vanity is dust. Those who live unjustly may attract a crowd, but it is a crowd of masks. The moment fortune shifts, their isolation is revealed. Consider betrayal. The betrayer believes himself clever, gaining advantage at another's expense. But what happens when others notice? They ask, if he betrayed once, will he not betray again? The betrayer must wander from circle to circle, never belonging, always watched, always suspected. This is karma at work, not thunderbolts from heaven, but the slow erosion of human bonds. The unjust man exiles himself with every act of treachery. The Stoics saw this isolation as worse than poverty. Seneca wrote, "He who is isolated and deserted by all, though he may have riches, is poor." Wealth can buy company but not loyalty, comfort but not trust. The old self may think possessions replace people, but the new self knows a life without genuine fellowship is misery. Karma punishes the unjust by surrounding them with mirrors of their own corruption. Others who exploit, deceive, betray. They taste their own poison in every relationship. Modern life intensifies this. The world is quick to idolize those who rise fast, but it is quicker to abandon them when scandal strikes. Social media thrives on exposure, gossip, and downfall. The unjust may hide for a season, but isolation looms. True friends vanish, opportunists scatter. What remains is loneliness disguised by noise. You may envy their parties, their followers, their attention, but the Stoic eye sees isolation already at work. Epictetus explained that relationships must be built on virtue, not utility. If you want to be loved, love virtue, he said. Those who build on vice build on sand. Their houses collapse, their companions flee, their names rot. Marcus Aurelius added, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." Wrongdoing damages the community, and the community eventually rejects the wrongdoer. Even if society tolerates them outwardly, nature isolates them inwardly. Their conscience denies fellowship. Their reputation withers trust. The third sign of karma, then, is this: the unjust become isolated. They may be surrounded by people, but they are alone. Their laughter echoes in emptiness. Their friendships are fragile. Their alliances shallow. They carry suspicion in every bond, distrust in every glance. Karma ensures that betrayal, cruelty, and deceit cannot build lasting community. The punishment is loneliness, and it is inevitable. So when you wonder, do they still have friends? Do they still have people who support them? Remember, those who harm are slowly exiling themselves. Companionship built on injustice is as fragile as dust. True fellowship belongs only to the virtuous. The unjust are punished by isolation, first in the suspicion of others, then in the silence of their own hearts. The fourth sign that karma is already unfolding against those who harmed you is the slow but certain corrosion of reputation. At first, injustice can appear glamorous. The one who lies, manipulates, or betrays may gain immediate advantage. They may rise quickly, acquire influence, or seem untouchable. But reputation, like a delicate fabric, is easily stained and rarely repaired. The Stoics knew that character cannot remain hidden forever. Marcus Aurelius observed, "The reputation of 1,000 years may be determined by the conduct of 1 hour." The old self may celebrate victory today, but karma ensures the shadow of disgrace tomorrow. Seneca taught that fortune and applause are fragile goods. He warned his student Lucilius, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Those who harm others crave power, recognition, dominance. They think reputation is built by fear or cunning. But the more they crave it, the weaker their hold on it becomes. For every deceit, every cruelty, every selfish act leaves traces that accumulate. Eventually, the pattern becomes visible. Reputation corrodes, not with one blow, but with countless scratches, each act of injustice scraping away trust. Epictetus was clear about the futility of hiding corruption. "What need have I of a witness," he asked, "if I have a conscience?" Wrongdoers may bribe, manipulate, or charm others into silence, but conscience testifies. And though conscience is private, it inevitably leaks into action. Anxiety in the voice, suspicion in the eyes, desperation in the grip of power. These leaks are noticed. Over time, people whisper, doubt, and eventually believe. Reputation corrodes as surely as iron rusts in the rain. Modern light accelerates this process. News spreads instantly. Lies are recorded, betrayal becomes headline, cruelty is filmed. Even if escape seems possible, digital memory does not forget. Karma has new tools now, public exposure amplified by endless voices. Reputation that took years to build can collapse overnight. And even if the wrongdoer clings to followers or admirers, the air is different. There is always suspicion, always a whisper, always the knowledge that respect has been replaced by fear or spectacle. But the Stoics remind us that true reputation is not what others say, but what you are. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is the only foundation of enduring reputation. The unjust, however, build on falsehood, and karma ensures collapse. Perhaps not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but inevitably. Time reveals character. Seneca explained, "Time discovers truth." A man can hide his corruption for a while, but not forever. The corrosion of reputation also isolates. As the unjust man's character becomes known, allies hesitate, friends withdraw, and opportunities vanish. This links with the previous sign of karma. First internal unrest, then isolation, now public corrosion. It is a chain reaction. One injustice breeds suspicion, suspicion breeds gossip, gossip breeds exposure, exposure breeds disgrace. Karma is not mystical vengeance. It is the natural unfolding of consequence. For the one who was harmed, this truth offers calm. You need not become obsessed with exposing them, for the universe itself tends to disclosure. The unjust leave clues everywhere. They contradict themselves, they overcompensate, they attract enemies who reveal them. Even if years pass before the collapse, it comes. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Soon you will have forgotten all things. Soon all things will have forgotten you." Reputation is fleeting, but when vice corrodes it, the fall is swifter still. Consider betrayal again. When someone betrays, others begin to watch more carefully. Even if they prosper for a time, their reputation carries invisible cracks. And reputation, once cracked, rarely recovers. You may rebuild wealth, power, even health, but once people no longer believe you are trustworthy, they hesitate forever. This is karma's justice. The unjust man spends the rest of his life patching holes in a ship that is already sinking. Thus, the fourth Stoic sign of karma is this: injustice corrodes reputation. Slowly, invisibly at first, but irreversibly. The unjust may sit high on the throne of appearances, but their throne is made of glass. One stone of truth shatters it. The Stoics do not envy the unjust, they pity them. For they walk every day closer to exposure, closer to disgrace, closer to the collapse of the very reputation they craved. So when you ask, will people ever see who they truly are? The Stoic answer is yes. Time is a patient witness, and karma is relentless. Their name will not remain whole, for vice corrodes what virtue alone sustains. Now some exciting news. Our channel now offers a members club. By joining it, you'll unlock exclusive benefits, deeper content dives, and personal insights. Join us on this journey, and let's build a meaningful life together. And I also humbly ask you to leave a comment, as it helps my channel immensely. If you do not know what to comment, just write "better every day" so I know you reached this far. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Also, I've linked some books on Stoicism that helped me become the man I am today, and will also help you achieve a Stoic mindset. The fifth sign that karma is silently working against those who harmed you is that their own unchecked desires become their prison. What appears as freedom, the ability to take what they want, to manipulate, to dominate, is in reality enslavement. The Stoics taught that the man who cannot govern his desires is not free at all. Epictetus declared, No man is free who is not master of himself. The unjust may appear powerful, but if they are ruled by greed, lust, or ambition, they are captives in golden chains. Seneca described this paradox vividly. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. The unjust harm others to satisfy craving, but the craving only grows. They take money through deceit, yet money never satisfies. They betray for advantage, yet the advantage feels small once achieved. They seek power, but power demands constant defense, constant suspicion, constant fear. What they chased becomes what chases them. This is karma, not punishment from outside, but collapse from within, caused by the endless hunger they themselves unleashed. Marcus Aurelius observed this hunger all around him in Rome. Senators clawing for position, generals scheming for glory, citizens grasping for wealth. He reminded himself how quickly all things disappear, in the universe the bodies themselves, but in time the memory of them. To crave endlessly is to build life on smoke. Those who harm others to satisfy desire end up consumed by desire itself. They think they are climbing, but the ladder is leaning against emptiness. This trap of desire manifests in restlessness. The unjust cannot enjoy what they have because they are already haunted by the next craving. Betrayal wins them wealth, but they fear losing it. Cruelty brings them dominance, but they fear revolt. Lies grant them an image, but they fear exposure. The more they grasp, the more they tremble. Karma is at work, for what they love becomes what torments them. Epictetus taught his students to practice saying, "You are only an appearance. You are not the thing itself." This was his way of weakening desire. To see luxury, applause, pleasure, and remind oneself that these are shadows, not substance. The unjust never practice this discipline. They mistake shadows for substance, illusions for truth. Karma ensures their disillusionment. For every shadow fades, and when it does, they collapse. Consider also how unchecked desire breeds more harm. To gain wealth, they deceive. To protect wealth, they betray again. To increase wealth, they exploit further. Each act deepens their chains, tightening the prison. The old self is never satisfied. Seneca warned, "The greatest wealth is a poverty of desires." The unjust know no such wealth. Their poverty is endless, though their possessions overflow. Modern life magnifies this trap. Consumerism, competition, status, all whisper to feed desire without end. The unjust follow this path blindly, believing that more will finally be enough. But karma does not permit such an end. The more they consume, the emptier they feel. The more they chase, the more exhausted they become. Their own appetite devours them. This is why the Stoics called temperance a cardinal virtue. To govern desire is to be free. To be governed by desire is to be enslaved. The unjust, who harm others for gain, choose slavery. They may appear to dominate others, but in truth, they are dominated by themselves. Karma ensures this truth unfolds. They destroy themselves by chasing endlessly what can never satisfy. So the fifth Stoic sign of karma is this: those who harm you are trapped by their own desires. Their greed, their ambition, their vanity. They think these make them strong, but they are chains. Chains they fasten tighter with every act of injustice. You may not see the bars, but they live in a prison of endless craving, tortured by the very things they pursued. The sixth sign that karma is already unfolding against those who harmed you is that injustice creates a cycle. Wrongdoers repeat patterns, and those patterns become traps. The Stoics believed that vice was not a one-time act, but a habit, and habits shape destiny. Seneca warned, "Every vice has its own chain, and once you begin to drag it, you will not stop." What he meant is that harm rarely ends with one action. It grows, repeats, multiplies. The unjust become victims of their own behavior, caught in loops they themselves created. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul is dyed with the color of its thoughts. The more often you act from cruelty, the more cruel you become. The more you betray, the easier betrayal feels. The more you lie, the more natural lying becomes. But each repetition carries consequence. Lies pile until they contradict each other. Betrayals multiply until no one trusts you. Cruelty escalates until it provokes rebellion. Karma does not need to invent punishments. The unjust punish themselves by rehearsing their downfall. Epictetus compared habits to ruts on a road. The wheel that turns in the same rut cannot escape without deliberate effort. Wrongdoers rarely make that effort, for they believe their cunning is strength. They repeat because repetition feels safe, even when it destroys them. The betrayer betrays again, the greedy hoards again, the violent lashes out again. And each time, the walls close in tighter. What looked like freedom was a spiral. This is visible everywhere in life. The addict who indulges once returns again and again until his body collapses. The liar who spins one story must invent more until the web suffocates him. The corrupt official who takes one bribe must take another to hide the first. These are not isolated acts. They are patterns, and patterns form prisons. Karma ensures that what begins as advantage ends as downfall. Seneca explained this irony with piercing clarity. It is the man who is a slave to lust, greed, and ambition who is most miserable, for he is never free. Misfortune repeats not because the universe singles out wrongdoers, but because they repeat themselves. Each indulgence plants a new seed, and every seed bears bitter fruit. Modern examples abound. Politicians who lie once are forced to lie again until scandals erupt. Executives who cut corners for profit must cut further until collapse comes. Celebrities who betray others for fame must betray again until their reputation dissolves. Karma operates through repetition. The unjust cannot stop harming, and so they cannot stop falling. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that men do not change merely by wishing. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Wrongdoers never take this step. They argue, they justify, they promise, but they never change. Their habits consume them. This is why Stoics urged immediate correction, because delay deepens the rut. Each day of vice engraves the pattern deeper, making escape harder. Karma is this engraving, the slow but certain etching of ruin into the soul. Why is this comforting to you, the one who suffered? Because it reveals that wrongdoers cannot escape themselves. They may harm you once, but they will harm again. And each repetition is another nail in their own coffin. You need not hope for their punishment. It is guaranteed by their own patterns. The betrayer will betray until no one remains. The liar will lie until no one believes. The cruel will hurt until they are feared and abandoned. Their cycle is their judgment. Thus, the sixth Stoic sign of karma is this: misfortune repeats for those who harm, because they repeat themselves. Vice is not a single step, but a path, and those who walk it will eventually reach its bitter end. The seventh and final sign that karma is already handling those who harmed you is the unavoidable collapse of their illusions when they face mortality. The Stoics, more than any other philosophers, spoke constantly of death, not to terrify, but to clarify. They taught that the ultimate justice of the universe is time itself, which strips every man of titles, possessions, and disguises, revealing only the state of his soul. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Alexander the Great and his mule driver both died, and the same thing befell both. In death, the emperor and the servant meet as equals, but the unjust meet death with terror, for they see the ruins of their choices closing in." Karma does not always punish swiftly. Sometimes the unjust seem to escape consequence for years. They may build empires, gather wealth, manipulate people, and even seem invincible. But time does not forget. Every day carries them closer to the moment when masks drop. The man who harmed you may boast now, But when mortality stares back at him, what defense will he have? Gold cannot bribe death. Lives cannot persuade it. Power cannot command it. Death accepts no excuse. And at that threshold, karma reveals its full weight. Seneca urged his students to rehearse death daily, not to become morbid, but to live prepared. Rehearse death, he wrote. To say this is to rehearse freedom. Those who live unjustly refuse this rehearsal. They avoid silence. They distract themselves. They cling desperately to pleasures and possessions, hoping to forget mortality. But when death comes suddenly, or when illness lingers, when weakness grows, karma arrives with it. All the pleasures they clung to fade. All the power they abused evaporates. And what remains? Only the memory of their actions, the character they formed, the conscience they cannot escape. Marcus Aurelius warned himself not to live as though immortality were possible. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This awareness gave him clarity. But the unjust man, who never prepared, who never faced himself honestly, collapses in fear. He looks back and sees the trail of harm he left, the people he betrayed, the peace he never found. This is karma in its final form, the confrontation with the truth he fled his entire life. Epictetus described life as an inn. We are travelers who stay briefly and must depart when the innkeeper calls. The wise traveler enjoys the stay with moderation, ready to leave at any moment. The unjust traveler drinks, shouts, abuses others, and clings desperately to the room. When the innkeeper arrives, he must leave everything behind. His desperation is his punishment. The Stoics remind us, death is not misfortune, it is natural. The misfortune is to arrive at death unprepared, burdened by guilt, enslaved by desire, corroded by vice. Modern life hides death behind hospitals, screens, distractions. We imagine it far away, an abstract event for others. But karma is patient. For those who harm, every step toward mortality is a step toward truth. The laughter of youth, the pride of success, the comfort of possessions, these grow thin with age. Illness exposes weakness, solitude reveals emptiness, and the final silence strips away illusion. In that moment, injustice punishes with merciless clarity. The betrayer cannot undo betrayal. The liar cannot erase deceit. The cruel cannot restore what they destroyed. Their entire life testifies against them. For the one who was harmed, this sign is perhaps the most liberating. You may never see their downfall in this life. They may walk proudly, untouched, until old age. But no man escapes death, and no man carries more than his soul across its threshold. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back. The unjust cannot smile back, for they are haunted. Their conscience, neglected and abused, becomes their accuser at the end. This is karma's last verdict, and it cannot be appealed. Thus, the seventh Stoic sign of karma is mortality itself. Time ensures justice where men cannot. The unjust may flourish briefly, but they flourish like weeds, green today, ashes tomorrow. Their fate is to meet death unprepared, their illusions shattered, their conscience unrelenting. You need not seek vengeance, for the universe delivers the final blow. So when you ask, will they ever truly face what they did? Remember, yes, they will. At the end, when masks fall and possessions vanish, they will face the truth. Karma is not thunder from the sky, but the silent weight of consequence carried to the grave. For the Stoics, this was not superstition, but clarity. Every unjust act writes itself into the soul, and death is the moment when the ledger is read. Now, if any part of this message has been helpful to you, leave us your like and comment, helping the algorithm recommend it to someone who needs it at this time. Don't forget to subscribe, so you don't miss new videos. And if you look through the videos we've already uploaded, you're sure to find something to take with you. Have a good day.